For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Recent weeks have seen dramatic developments in South Africa. Firstly, we saw Eskom CEO resigning, and now the president is asking the NPA head, Shaun Abrahams, to give him the reasons why he should not be suspended, amongst other developments. What do you make of these developments?
You know, on one level, we're talking about law enforcement, criminal justice system, how you prosecute people, how you gather evidence, and all of this. But on another level, the people who are being prosecuted have got something to do with safeguarding the resources of the country and how institutions function, whether it's the Treasury, Eskom, and a range of state-owned entities, where we have a problem where the resources of these state-owned entities and state departments are being diverted or looted, and their functioning as institutions is being crippled. You know, you've got a situation with the NPA where no one has served more than 3 years for over 10 years. And you've got a situation where there's the way they handled the prosecution of Gordhan demonstrating incredible incompetence at the least, but maybe more than that. Now, when they brought a prosecution against Gordhan, it wasn't just a question of people making a mistake or carrying out their functions in a way that was inadequate. It was that the target was a very specific target. When you want to loot in South Africa from the state or from the resources of the state, one of the most important barriers to doing that is the Treasury, because the Treasury is monitoring SAA, for example, Denel, Eskom. They say, you need approval to do this. Why did you do that? You can't do this, or this is irregular. The nuclear deal must be done in this, that, and the other way. So when a prosecution was undertaken where they ought to have known that in 2014 there was a legal opinion which justified what Pravin Gordhan did in regard to the pension of Ivan Pillay. They ought to have known that, and if there's no intention to commit a criminal offence, there's no basis for prosecution. I haven't read it properly yet, but the Daily Mail and Guardian today says that the Hawks actually knew of this legal opinion and did not convey it to Shaun Abrahams, because if you look at the correspondence between Shaun Abrahams and the Hawks, one of the things that Shaun Abrahams complains about is that they didn't do their work properly and they withheld this, or they didn't give him this information. Now, if it's true that they knew it, and if they didn't know it, they ought to have known it, because it was in the public domain in 2014, they were pursuing at least, at worst a malicious prosecution, at worst a very incompetent prosecution, because they had the idea that they must clear the way for certain deals, like the nuclear deal. And one of the obstacles in the way of achieving this is Pravin Gordhan. When they got rid of Nene, they just dismissed him. Now, it's not possible in the present climate to simply dismiss Pravin Gordhan. You need to have a reason beyond the president's prerogative, which he gave as his right with Nene. That is why They've carried on about a rogue unit, and they say they're still investigating a rogue unit, but they are not producing evidence. They've not, all the indications are that there was nothing criminal in setting up this research group, whatever it's called, in SARS. Now, there's another factor. Max Dupree has got an article where he, among not the only person, suggests that the nuclear deal is actually a deal where there may already have been, it's shrouded in secrecy. And one of the reasons it's shrouded in secrecy may be that money has already been passed for this deal. Now, if money is passed, if it's true, what it means is that there's a very different pressure from when you go into a deal and then you're waiting for payment after the deal. But if money is passed in advance of the deal, then those who've given you the money are putting a lot of pressure on you. And that may explain why they are so anxious, not the hawks, but those who, and the NPA, but those who are whispering in their ear that they must find a reason to prosecute these people. It may be that Putin, who is supposed to have had these secret meetings with President Zuma, it is alleged that he may already have transferred money. Now, I wouldn't like to have Putin breathing down my neck and saying, what's happening with this deal? Because you see, maybe in Russia at the moment, it's quite easy to just sort of say to someone, I want this deal, and just have it done. Maybe he doesn't understand why there is this delay. And what's characterized the nuclear deal all along has been secrecy. There was a meeting the other day that was secret. And the problem with all of this is that, let's say, in response to the Freedom Under Law and Helen Suzman Foundation action to remove Sean Abrams, President Zuma called on Abrams and two other members of NPA to give reasons why they shouldn't be suspended. Let's say he suspends them. Let's say in the end dismisses them. You must remember there's also Jiba and Khoebe who have gone to the Supreme Court of Appeal. They've been struck off the role of advocates. They're likely to, that appeal is likely to be lost by them. And who does he appoint? What happens if the Supreme Court of Appeal is going to hear the appeal on Zuma's charges? What happens if they reinstate the charges? Who will he fight? How will that be dealt with? Who will deal with that? If Zuma wanted to go on appeal, and will the NPA take it on appeal as well? When Zuma went to the Constitutional Court, they said they couldn't hear his case. Then they had to wait for the Supreme Court of Appeal. If Zuma goes and does it himself, the chances are there possible that they may make him bear the costs if he loses it. So a whole lot of things are building up where the people who have been doing his bidding, like Abrams and Ntlemeza. Ntlemeza, by the way, there's also an action to remove Ntlemeza. They may both be gone soon. If they're gone, where does he find someone else? Which a person will risk doing something for Zuma and then the next week being suspended? See, this is something that also comes out. Zuma has had relationships which have been beneficial to him. Like Shabir Sheikh went to jail because he had transferred monies to Zuma. Zuma didn't go to jail. And Sheikh and Zuma, there's no relation. As far as you can see, Sheikh is just out there in the cold at the moment. He got his medical parole, so-called, but he's out there. So he's not got long-standing loyalties. So to conclude, the way I see it is there is a desire to neutralize the Treasury, not only for the nuclear deal, but for a range of deals which the Guptas want, which the Russians want, which all sorts of other people want, whether with Eskom, Denel, or a number of other state-owned entities or entities over which the Treasury has oversight. One of the ways they've tried to deal with the barrier that the Treasury has faced has to unleash prosecutions. They may face a situation where Abrams pays a price for this, and Ntlemeza pays a price. Ntlemeza, even without what he's done now, a judge has already said he's a liar, all these sorts of things. So who will do the bidding of Zuma? That's the problem, as I see it.
So how will this develop?
The way I see it is that institutions can't defend themselves. They can do their job, and they can do their best with their job, but when they are under attack and when they are undermined from within, as has happened by some people in Eskom and a number of other places, or allegedly in Eskom and Denel, a number of other places, it seems this is where the role of institutions other than government come into play. Opposition, sections of the ANC, trade unions, broad civil society. So that I think we need to be strengthening organizations that are willing to defend our constitution and defend the freedom that we have won and enlarge it. You can't talk about building anything in our society, developing anything, having a developmental state if you allow the resources to be eaten up by rogues.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about Things Fall Apart.